Instant Replay is your local sports bar. With 18 big screen TVs, we have all the sports packages from college games to pro games. We offer daily drink specials, and come check out the Bullpen, our newly renovated beer garden. Instant Replay, 2739 Chestnut in Quincy.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily Muddy. I'm Ashley Conrad. Joining me today, Tracy Bugh. You are welcome, first of all.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So you are the coordinator of Child Family Mentor Program for the Quincy Public Schools. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. So I'm really excited to speak with you because I just spoke with the superintendent, and I forget who else it was, but we were talking about the mentorship program and all the great things that it does for not only the students, but the adults who are involved, the engagement. It seems like a very valuable program all the way around. So I'm excited to talk to you about it. Before we get into it, though, so the mentorship program it's not a new thing.
We're celebrating 30 years.
30 years.
30 years
yes.
in existence.
Outstanding. And we were talking about your job because you are the coordinator of the mentors, but you also are, your big job is PBIS.
PBIS.
What is that?
That is Positive Behavior Intervention Systems.
Okay.
And so that's how we address and direct interventions for students who might have some social, emotional, or behavior challenges. And we kind of put adults into systems so that they can be efficient and effective with interventions for kids that might have some of those struggles.
Yeah. And so another worthwhile, right, and very valuable program. And it does, the mentorship program definitely complements and vice versa, the PBIS.
It sure does. It's
right?
a great partnership as far as kids who might have those struggles. Sometimes they're just missing that one adult role model in their lives, and this fits right into that place.
Love it. So the mentorship program, and the reason I was really excited to speak with you is because I've been kind of mulling it over since I talked to Dr. Pettit, and it is something that I think would not only greatly impact me, but hopefully help someone else, right?
I think it would greatly impact you. I've never had a mentor that says, this wasn't for me, I don't like this. They almost always say, I get more out of this than the student does.
Right.
Obviously would have a fabulous impact on the student, but it's also a great way to invest in our future because these students are our community, and if we have students growing up not feeling valuable or feel like they can be successful, this is a great way to help them succeed so that they can be a part of our community and not a detriment to our society.
Right, absolutely. So when I heard I was talking with you, I was like, well, great, I can just go in and ask her all kinds of questions that I have, and then hopefully that information, is worthwhile to other people who are looking to get into this or maybe just want more information.
Right. And so at the end of this, we hope to have another mentor signed up.
Exactly.
We'll see how good a job I did.
Okay, here we go. So as a mentor, let's start from the beginning. If I'm interested, who do I contact, and what does the process look like?
So I'm so glad you asked. I'm the person to contact. You can also go to www.qps/mentor, and it'll take you directly to the site on the QPS page that has all the mentor information and an application.
Okay.
But if somebody contacts me directly via email or calling the board office, I would just send you an application. And so the application's really short, really easy. On there, you give just some background information, also maybe your preferences of whether you'd rather work with younger children or older children.
Okay.
Maybe you have a gender preference. And also on that application, you would be signing permission for us to do a background check on you.
Gotcha.
Because, of course, the number one priority is keeping our kids safe.
Yeah, absolutely. So a short application, background check. I'm glad you mentioned the preferences because that was one of my questions. I don't really have a preference, but I wasn't sure if age and gender played a part in that. So do I get to pick, or is it just kind of, here's my preference, but we may not have that?
Right. And so you can state your preference for sure.
Okay.
Some people will get very specific and say, I'd like a fourth grade boy at Lincoln Douglas.
Really?
Well, I may not have a fourth grade boy at Lincoln Douglas on my waiting list.
Sure.
And I do have quite a waiting list of students waiting to be matched.
I was going to ask how
so
many.
I might call you, right now we have about 30, but at the beginning of the year, I always get a whole bunch of more.
Gotcha.
So I'm expecting, 50 to 60 probably soon. But as I was saying, so if you wanted a fourth grade boy at Lincoln Douglas and I don't have one, I might say, I don't have a fourth grade, but I have a third grade boy, or I have a fourth grade girl, or I have a fourth grade boy at Rooney Elementary.
Sure.
And so we just work it out. I don't want you sitting around waiting to be matched just because you didn't have that.
Right.
Well, even though that might have been your preference, it would probably work out with another student.
Right. Good to know. So give me an idea of what a typical day of a mentor-mentee relationship looks like. Is there a typical day?
Well, it looks different for all mentors and all mentees. So what you do is the commitment we ask for is about 30 to 45 minutes a week.
Okay.
So you would go to the school during the school day. So it's not outside of school, it's at school, on school property. And during that time, you could be doing so many different things. I'll give you an example. I'm with a young man that I've been with since he was in first grade. He's now in 8th grade, and he's also about 6'3".
Wow.
So you can see us walking down the
You're
hall
right,
together.
yeah. He's
but
carrying you.
I like to say we go shoot hoops together, but in reality, he shoots hoops and I rebound for him.
There you go.
But we have done such a variety of things, whether it's playing Uno, we've done some crafts together, we've made some Christmas presents for him to be able to give to his little sisters. Sometimes we work on homework. But the program is not academic focused. That's not the purpose of the program. Doesn't say you can't help. If he gets behind or needs a little help with something, he might say, hey, can you help me with that? And my answer is always yes.
Right.
But that's not our focus. The focus more is about the social, emotional, and building up that self-esteem.
Gotcha. That's good to know. All things, again, that I'm learning. So 30 to 45 minutes. Now, is that, so that is the commitment that you ask for. What if, as a mentor, I think it would make sense to spend more time. Is that something that I decide, you decide, the child? How does that work?
So depending on the building you're at and the student, sometimes we have the mentor come more often. Typically, it's the once a week.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean you can't come to special events. You can't come in at lunchtime, or you can't do some of the other things. I go watch my guy play basketball because he's on the basketball team.
Right.
Some of those things. If you're in the pre-K to 5 range, you would work and you would adjust your schedule with the teacher specifically.
Okay.
So you might say, I want to mentor on Tuesdays at 10, and the teacher might say, oh, that's his gym class, and if he misses his gym class, he'll hate you.
Right, yeah.
So you might say, oh, well, would Wednesdays at 10 work? Oh, yeah, and so you would work it out. At the junior high school, it's worked out more with, like, the counselors, because they can look at their schedule and say, oh, probably shouldn't be missing advanced chemistry.
Okay.
But maybe PE, or maybe a study hall,
Sure.
or something else might be a better option. So you kind of work out that schedule with the person from the school.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. So you mentioned being with your guy from, what'd you say, first grade?
Yeah.
So do you grow with it? Do they ever, quote unquote, graduate from the mentor program?
So the ideal situation is you stay with the student until they graduate.
Okay.
Now, I say that. We occasionally have that happen. Like we had a gentleman just here this past year and the year before, started with the student at early childhood and stayed with them till graduation.
Really?
So that's 14 years.
That's incredible.
Yes, it is. So anyway, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes things come up that the child ends up moving. Sometimes the mentor has committed and then they get a job change or they get a transfer and they aren't able to do that. We do ask for a minimum commitment of 2 years.
Okay.
Our research tells us anything less than 18 months is actually detrimental to the child.
Sure.
Because it's another adult that let them down, another adult that didn't follow
Transitions,
through.
sure.
Right. And these kids tend to have had a lot of that in their lives, so we really try to provide that. Very rarely, the student will say, yeah, I'm good, I don't need to see my mentor anymore.
Really?
Typically, if you've matched with the child very young, though, you are such a big part of their life, usually, and this time of year, I'm getting notes from teachers or emails saying, hey, Johnny wants to know when his mentor's coming, so they look forward to
Gotcha.
it, they value it. Like I said, very rarely we have where, okay, I'm done, but usually it's a commitment they follow all the way through.
Gotcha. That's good to know. So 2 years and 35, 45 minutes a week sounds like very little, I don't want to say effort, but it's very minimal commitment to provide such a huge impact on these kids. Now, one of the things that I get worried about, and maybe other people would too, is kind of this connection. I mean, of course, I'm a softie, right? So the toll that it might take on you as a parent, knowing that they have a home life that's not right. So what do you say to people who maybe are letting that hold them back from mentoring?
I hear what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
but think of the impact you could have
Right.
by giving them this great experience. So
Right.
if their life's already not the highest quality and you're adding this to it, you can impact that.
Right.
Very, very rarely, I mean, it just doesn't hardly happen that a mentor is not able to continue with the
Yeah.
child. Like they
It's like,
do
I just can't
everything.
do it. Yeah.
Like, yeah, they just become so committed, so invested. I think about him like one of my nieces or nephews.
Sure.
Like, think about them all the time, how I can improve their lives and bring them new experiences. So many of them haven't even been out of Quincy.
Right.
So showing them pictures of the places I've gone, talking about plans, vacations, those kinds of things, it just really broadens their horizons.
Sure.
And, gives them opportunities and makes them think beyond Friday night, right?
Right.
A future story, like when you're done with high school. Like some of these kids don't even think graduating high school is an option for them.
Right.
So talking to them about that and building that up. So back to your question,
Yeah.
I would say go for it. If you feel that passionate and you're worried about that, you're going to feel that passion about making the difference.
Yeah, that's the good thing, right? That's
Right.
maybe a qualification that you want to have as somebody
Right.
who's a little worried about it. Because I think the heart is part of what makes a good candidate,
For
right?
sure,
Do you
for
agree?
sure. Absolutely.
So what qualifies a student to be in the mentorship program?
So a lot of different things.
Okay.
Sometimes the school staff will see there's been a situation in this child's life where they've lost a significant adult in their life. Sometimes it's not always. I know you mentioned the sad lives. It's not always that situation. Maybe the parents, have another child in the home that takes a lot of needs, like maybe special needs and
Gotcha.
stuff, and they just want that kid to have somebody that's just theirs.
Okay.
So there's lots of different things. The student can be referred by a teacher, other staff in the building, such a counselor, or a dean, or something like that. Sometimes I get parent requests.
Okay.
And sometimes we get student requests. And not that those are always recognized, but they're always considered.
Gotcha. So we mentioned how to get more information, which we'll mention again in just a minute. But before we get to that, is there anything else that you want to talk about? I know you do still have a waiting list, so you are always looking for mentors. You do always want people to reach out, even if they aren't sure if they're ready, right?
Right, because we can talk about it
Right?
and I can convince you.
Yes. Now, anything else that you want to bring up that maybe I forgot to ask about?
I just don't know that there's any better way for you to make a difference in the future of our society and our community and our culture than
Right.
to invest in a child one-on-one like this.
Yeah.
The difference you can make to that student and even to that family. I just had I'm glad you gave me this opportunity to tell the story. A mother reached out to me the other day and she said, my son's been in the mentor program. He's a freshman. He's been in the mentor program since 4th grade, and it's made the total difference in his life.
Really?
And she said, I want to be able to do that for another family. And so she's like, can I apply? Of course.
Yes.
And can I tell your story? So when you hear a student talk about it, when you hear a family talk about it, and the mentors, it's like the trifecta of a great partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love it. So one more time, if anybody's interested in becoming a mentor or learning more about the mentor program through the Quincy Public Schools or Quincy Public Schools Foundation, right? How would they go about it? Who do they contact? And
So my name's Tracy Bugh.
Okay.
B-U-G-H.
Yep.
It's a tricky one. You can call the board office at 217-223-8700, or you can reach out to the website at www.qps/mentor.
Okay, excellent. Tracy, thank you so much. I will be reaching out. Definitely a worthwhile program. I urge you to learn a little bit more about it, and hopefully this helped.
Thank you for your
Right.
time.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I appreciate it. Coming up next, I sit down with John Campos from the Adams County Health Department. Stay tuned.
Kelly's has been a fun place to eat and drink in Quincy since 1982. A fun and friendly atmosphere, food with flavor, homemade cinnamon rolls, and famous cheese soup, the best menu in town. Kelly's, 2902 Broadway, Quincy.
Welcome to the Abbey, a Quincy tradition. With 6 big screens, a new larger kitchen, and now more seating capacity, the Abbey is the place to be before, during, and after the big game. Come enjoy fan favorite appetizers, steaks, burgers, and a variety of daily food and drink specials. Can't join us? Carryout is available too. Now with a convenient drive-up window to better serve you. 1736 Spring in Quincy. Opens at 3 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Come join all your friends at the Abbey, a Quincy tradition.
The Liquor Booth is your home for a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits. The Liquor Booth has 2 locations in Quincy, 3520 Broadway and 1500 North 12th Street. The Liquor Booth, where it's always happy hour.
Instant Replay is your local sports bar. With 18 big screen TVs, we have all the sports packages from college games to pro games. We offer daily drink specials, and come check out the bullpen.
Are you looking for the perfect venue for your next special event? Check out Utopia Event Center. Utopia has a large banquet room and an awesome bar area, perfect for anything from birthday parties to formal corporate meetings. It also offers a photo booth, stage for a DJ or a live band, and a fully stocked bar, all for only $300. Check us out at utopiaeventcenter.com or call Barn at 217-430-6559 for more information. Utopia Event Center, 900 North 12th Street in Quincy.
The Tower, a great place to meet and eat. But did you know the Tower has one of the finest drink selections in our area? Along with its incredible Mexican menu, the Tower specializes in tequilas for every taste. Names like Patron, Cabo Wabo, and Hornitos. And don't forget the margaritas. On Mondays and Tuesdays, stop by and pick up a single topping pizza and get Tower margaritas to go. Enjoy the Tower at home or in our dining room, bar area, or the Tower's signature climate-controlled porch. The Tower Pizza and Mexican in Quincy.
And welcome back. Joining me now, John Campos with the Adams County Health Department. Welcome, John.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So you have a very interesting job, and that is the infectious disease supervisor at the health department. Mm-hmm. So when I say interesting, I'm sure that it's really, really, your day is never the same, but it's very, very important what you're doing.
Yeah, I feel very lucky to have the position. It's one of those things where you're doing a lot to help the community, but not a lot of people know that what we're doing outside, it's behind closed doors, and which is fine. But it is really exciting. I've been doing it for 11 years, and the success stories with that have really kept me going.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when I was asking about your position and kind of like if you had a tagline your job, you'd basically be, and correct me if I'm wrong, so you help to investigate and stop the spread of many infectious diseases in our community through, various strategies, but mostly public awareness, and that's probably why you're here today, right?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Let's spread the word.
Right? So today, we're talking about something, what brought you here today is syphilis. And I know when people hear that, it's like you immediately get this reaction like, right? Mm-hmm. And when I heard about it, I got to be honest, I felt the same way, because it came to me that there's an uptick in Adams County of syphilis. Through a very short conversation with you, I realized that may or may not be the case, and that's something we're here to talk about today as well.
Right. So deciphering data can be kind of tricky. So you can look at 1 year from another year and say, look, we have this many more syphilis cases. Syphilis is on the rise. But things get a little bit trickier than that, because in order to find out if you have syphilis, you have to be tested.
Right.
And so not everybody's getting tested, but some years we're seeing, or especially here recently, we're seeing newer facilities similar to Immunotech that people are going in to donate plasma, and they're getting tested, and that blood is getting tested. Gotcha. So if that test results, those results are going to come to us. There's also been other campaigns in the state of Illinois to make sure that all pregnant females are getting tested for syphilis, because one way syphilis can pass is from mother to baby. Gotcha. So all pregnant moms in Adams County are being tested, and sometimes they have syphilis. But luckily, syphilis is a treatable illness, and all doctors can treat that.
Really? Okay, so if you're donating plasma, right, you get tested just for syphilis every time, right?
That they're doing that. Yeah.
Okay, so that could have something to do with an increased amount, right? Because more people are getting tested. When you have pregnant moms getting tested, just because you're pregnant, you're going to probably see a spike. So yeah, prevalence in testing, thereby increasing prevalence in what you're finding.
Right, our finding numbers.
And then, so syphilis, you're saying it's treatable. I've always heard and learned that it can be deadly.
Yeah, it can. So syphilis left untreated over the years can cause significant harm to a person. It'll start to affect the neurological system and cause brain changes and ultimately can lead to somebody passing away from it.
Okay, so both things are true. It's treatable, but can also be deadly. So what are some symptoms if you're not getting tested? What are some symptoms that you can look out for?
Well, first thing is if you're living a riskier lifestyle,
Okay.
I don't think we have to truly explain what that
Sure.
means, but if you're living a risky lifestyle, your chances of coming into contact with it are significantly higher. And so you're probably the best person to want to go and then go get tested by your doctor.
Okay.
But there's a lot of people that are getting tested that don't fit the demographic that we would assume, like with age or race or sexuality. We're kind of just seeing it across the board here in Adams County. So it's important to not just, kind of focus in on one area.
Gotcha. So it's not a demographic that can be pinpointed. So a lot of times it can be prevalent in a certain demographic, but what you're seeing is that it's pretty standard across the board. Yeah.
And so when it comes to symptoms of syphilis, syphilis is a little bit trickier than some of the others because it comes on into stages. So we say like a primary, secondary, and then latent, and there's different symptoms that correlate with that. The biggest symptom that we generally, which is always like a confirmed if they have this, is what we call a chancre or a typically non-painless sore, and those are generally going to be around the genitalia area.
Okay.
When a person has that, it's a strong indicator that that's syphilis, and that happens early on. But part of the problem can be is that some people, because it's painless, they just kind of wish it away, and then eventually it goes away.
Oh, really?
But they are still infectious, and then those next kind of symptoms might start where we'll see significant rashes. There can be balding where people start to lose their hair, and then of course neurological issues.
Wow. Okay. Well, I didn't know any of that. That's good to know. So probably one of the what you talked about, public awareness.
Mm-hmm.
I think people don't really know what to look out for. I mean, I learned some of it in health class, but it kind of goes away, right? And then you don't really think about it again until it gets brought up.
Public education is always something that we've taken really strong, myself and the team, and we've really tried to push that out in new different ways. We've created an app for the phone for Adams County where people can look these things up. We have our website. We've been doing media. We've also done educational things like when we have newer things coming in where we were concerned about monkeypox, we were creating an education for nurses and different doctors that they could look at and just understand what this process was going to be like, if they saw it, how we were going to be able to help them and how they could help us. We're always kind of looking for good ways to get that information out. Unfortunately, though, maybe it's kind of boring, and a lot of people aren't interested in.
Well, if it doesn't apply to you, in the point, you're like, oh, I got a lot of stuff going on right now. I can't worry about syphilis.
Yeah, and then there's just a lot of misinformation, and I think when you talk to your friends or you're online, there's so much different information going there. It can get kind of convoluted and hard to know what is correct.
Right, or if you're like me, you avoid WebMD because otherwise you convince yourself you're dying, right? Yeah. So if you were to talk to someone today and kind of give them, just a little bit of like a heads up, hey, if you're XYZ, we recommend you go get tested. Mm-hmm. So who falls into that category?
Yeah, so the demographics of what we're seeing right now, there's not a pinpoint. Generally, we find that persons that are homosexual, particularly men who have sex with men, are at most risk because in the state of Illinois, in the state of or in the United States, that is the biggest demographic.
Okay.
So that is something that we kind of push towards. But our results aren't necessarily showing that at all.
Sure.
And we're seeing persons in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, different races, different sexualities.
Okay. So how is it transmitted? Did you already?
So transmission is only two ways. We mentioned mom to baby, mm-hmm. And the other is going to be sexual, and that would be vaginal, anal, or oral sex. So it's not something you can get from sharing clothes or a toilet seat or any of these other
kind of things. What about like intravenous drugs?
So intravenous drugs is possible, and that's another demographic that we see more of. But Generally, we're looking at more of a skin-to-skin contact,
Okay.
particularly with those sores,
Okay.
or especially if there's any kind of breakage from the rashes or those sores, that makes it easier for this to pass. And then, of course, it also makes it easier for viruses to pass, such as HIV.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. So testing, of course, is one thing, but just knowing that it's there and that it is prevalent right now, regardless of the reason, knowing what your risk factors are, knowing who you can talk to about it, knowing where to go to get treated. Where do they go even for testing? Is there somewhere in town?
Right. There's so many different places
Okay.
to go. And so I've been doing this kind of work for 11 years. And in that 11 years, we've seen more places pop up, health centers and walk-in clinics. And so in general, if you wanted to be tested, you could probably go to your normal family physician, and
Okay.
they can do that. So for syphilis, it is a blood draw test, and it's definitely worth it to know for
Sure.
sure. We should all be knowing our status, especially if we're going to be living a lifestyle where this kind of thing could be, we could be exposed to
Right,
it. So. That's always a good thing. And then we have smaller places like Pathway that really focus on that, and they're accepting people in on walk-ins. You don't have to make an appointment, sliding scale pay, all those kind of things.
I was going to ask about, lower income options, because I think that is some kind of that sometimes can be a barrier, right?
Yeah, I think so. But Adams County in particular, I think, is pretty well suited. We have a lot, because if you look around, we have a lot of different healthcare systems here.
Right.
And part of the reason is we're kind of the hub for our immediate area. So a lot of people work here, and then a lot of people doctor here as well.
Right.
So there really is we're all living different kind of lives, and sometimes it's hard for some people to get to the doctor, or they're concerned about it. But there probably hasn't been an easier time in history in Adams County to go get seen by a doctor.
Right. So, if you are concerned, get tested. If you think you may have something, get tested. If you think you may expose yourself, get tested, right? I think it is important to play a part in not spreading, especially sexually transmitted infectious diseases, of course. It doesn't seem hard if you're just proactive, right? And then knowing is half the battle. So thank you for coming on and talking to me about that. Now, if anybody wants more information on syphilis in Adams County, any other infectious disease, or maybe even who they can talk to, where would they go?
So there is the Adams County app that is running. It's brand new, so we're still kind of working out some of the kinks. There is our website, and then of course you could just give us a call.
Okay.
So we're community servant. So our team of infectious disease, one of the biggest things that we push is besides the fact that we've gone to counseling training because we have to have very hard conversations with
I can't
people
imagine.
that. And people are feeling shame, embarrassment, or surprise, and so many of these kind of feelings. It's important for us to make sure that they're comfortable talking about these things so they can get the right information, to get the right treatment, and make some of the better decisions that's going to help them. And we strive really hard to make sure we're giving excellent customer service, because these are hard times for people, and if we're not doing a great job at that, then we're not doing a great job.
Right. Yeah, I love that you said that, because I do think that there is stigma associated with it, but it's just something that happens. And I know that, a lot of sexually transmitted diseases are, I don't want to say they're all on the rise, but it's like it just happens. It can happen to anyone. So I think just knowing, again, is half the battle, and then making sure that you're doing your part to stop the spread, whether that's testing or being treated. I think, that's... Nobody's going to judge you for that. Right?
So those things, and also, practicing safe sex or abstaining from sex are going to be ways to protect yourself and your family.
Absolutely. And having conversations with your kiddos who are at the appropriate age to make sure that they're in the know as well, and that, it may not seem like XYZ would have something, but you just never know, right? You just never know. So, have those crucial conversations. They may be tough, but it's worth it. Get tested, be in the know, have conversations with people like John. Play your part in stopping the spread of some of this,
Absolutely.
some of this crap, right? Because it's just not necessary, I think, right?
Yeah, it's 2024, and we have the tools to stop a lot of these things.
Yeah.
particularly things like HIV, which is one thing I like to talk about a lot, because I think it's an exciting time to work in HIV. The reason being that our treatments and our tools in our toolbox to stop the infection have increased so much. And I say that because, one, if a person is living a riskier lifestyle, there's now medicines that they can take daily that are like 99% effective at preventing them from getting HIV.
Right.
So that's amazing.
Okay.
If somebody was exposed to HIV, there's medicine that we could start within 72 hours to prevent that transmission of HIV. But then now we can do even better than that. So now people that are diagnosed with HIV, there's medication they can take, and it is so effective that when we go and test them for HIV, do a vial of blood to look for the HIV, they're coming up as not detected.
Oh,
now,
really?
there probably is still some HIV in their body.
They can still spread it, possibly.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So we're saying that if you are, and this is the state of Illinois and the CDC, is that if you can get your viral load or how much HIV is in your body to undetectable, we now believe that you are untransmittable.
Oh, okay.
And now we're seeing these persons with HIV, they're living just as long as a person without HIV. So we have all the tools to stop this now, but it's about getting out there, making sure people know what their status is, making smart decisions, having safer practices, and we could completely eliminate this as a concern, which is amazing. Because, growing up in the 80s, it was like...
Totally different.
It was the scariest thing you'd ever heard of.
Yeah.
But luckily, lots of smart people, they were very passionate about this adventure, and like I said, we've gotten the tools now to fight it, which is awesome.
That is awesome, yeah. And knowing is half the battle, but also just know that John and team are leaving the judging to Jesus, right? Nobody's there to judge you or the situation. Yeah,
you can't, and especially things like that. When people are willing to talk about these hard things, to have a better outcome, it's so important that we give them a platform, or we're empathetic and they feel comfortable giving us this information so that we can help them, because it is hard.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that hard to imagine being in their place at that time, because it could happen to any of us. And so I think that's the most important thing, is to if we're not giving good help, then we're not doing our jobs.
Yeah.
And so it's very important to us, and it's a really cool job to work on. All these things in the background that nobody's really worried about. We're collecting that data, we're doing interviews, we're investigating, we're trying to find the best outcome for all of us.
Yeah. And then on the other side, you're counseling and helping, helping on the other side too. So you get the kind of the best of both worlds, which I think is really cool.
Of course we get the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if it's the best of both, but you get you have the impact on both ends of your job, which I think is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
May not always be the best because you don't get to deliver the best news, but if they're there,
that's funny you say
then
that.
you get to do Then you get to do your job. So
I don't always give people good news, and in times I felt like I was poisonous, just because it's my job to sometimes to let you know what we're dealing with. But even today, I got to tell somebody they didn't have HIV.
There
and
you go.
I was just saying that today. I was like, I don't always get to give people good news.
Yeah.
So that really fires us up and makes us feel great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So thank you so much for coming and chatting with me. Yeah, of course. And it's always good to talk freely about some of this stuff. And I think knowing everything that you know and getting the information out there to people who may be hesitant or worried, let John and team keep you at ease and give you peace of mind. And if, God forbid, something does happen, you're there to also help them connect the resources to get it all taken care of so everybody can lead healthy, happy lives, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
And we're constantly on the lookout for new emerging illnesses and all of those kind of things. That we have our ear to the ground, and we're going through all the data and always looking for ways to make sure that we can protect our people.
Yeah. Because if we're not healthy, we really don't have anything else, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and the reason we have health department is for infectious disease. A lot of people look at the health department and they think of WIC or immunizations or the dental clinic, and nobody really thinks about or the guys that come out and inspect restaurants. They get it.
Yeah.
A lot of people know about them, but the work we do is kind of in the shadows. But I think it's great work, and
Yeah.
I feel very lucky to be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you're passionate about it. It was really cool talking to you about it. So come back anytime. Keep us in the know. And again, one more time, if anybody wants more information on syphilis or any other infectious disease that may be impacting Adams County, where would they go?
So they can go to the Adams County website. They could give us a call. There's the new app. But if you're going to go and look at information, I mean, of course, there is the WebMDs and stuff like that. But if we're talking about an infectious disease, you should probably go to the cdc.gov website first, as they are going to have the most up-to-date information on that.
Okay, excellent. John, thank you so much. Pleasure speaking to you. You'll have to come back again, okay?
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
I think that does it for today's Daily Muddy. We'll catch you back here tomorrow for Coffee Talk.